Okay, hello everyone, I'm Salar and we are in the first part of writing our real-time operating system. And in this part, in the first part, I wanna talk about environment of our works. I think you may ask why we are in Linux. Okay, I'm in Linux and I'm not in Windows. So our environment of our work is Linux because Linux is better and many of tools and software that we will use is native in Linux, and you have a better experience when you programming some program in Linux. And my distribution. Distribution means version. My Linux version, Linux distribution is Linux Mint 20. And Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is based on Debian. So Linux Mint is called Debian distro. If you have experience and if you have worked with Linux, you can jump from this introduction about Linux because some first parts of my tutorial is dedicated for introduction to Linux operating system, because I know some programmer don't have any experience with Linux operating system. But if you have experience with Linux operating system, you can override these parts because this part is boring for you. So my distribution is Mint, and if you want to come along with me in this tutorial, and if you don't have any experience with Linux, I recommend you to install Linux Mint or Ubuntu. Okay, so I'm in Linux Mint, and I recommend you to install a Linux on your hard drive, but installing Linux for first time is dangerous, and you can corrupt all of your file in your hard disk or in your computer, and installing Linux for first time is dangerous. And I extremely recommend you to make a backup from your hard drive before installing Linux on your system. You can install Linux beside of your for example Windows operating system, but make sure that you have a backup from your hard drive for first time. And if you don't want to install Linux on your hard drive and beside of your other operating systems, you can install Linux in a virtual machine, for example VMware, and you can do that. Okay, that was about our environment. But in Linux, like Windows or other operating systems, has a GUI, graphical user interface. For example, you have a start menu, you have taskbar, you have some icon in your desktop, and you can install some softwares on your computer, for example Google Chrome, Visual Studio Code, OBS Studio, or other things. And in Windows, you have a My Computer, and when you open My Computer, you have some drives. For example, you have drive CD or and so on. You can have optical drive, flash memory, hard disk, mounted hard disk, or other things. And in Linux, I have three options. The first is all of my hard disk, I have a SSD. I have SSD from AData, and all of my file in my computer, in my hard disk. not just in Linux operating system. For example, if you have a Windows and Linux simultaneously, it contains all of your data and information, and you can't open that. Okay, after that, it's my optical drive is a DVD drive, and after that, it's a file system. And file system is all of my data in Linux operating system. Okay, if I open that, now I have some folders. Okay, it's different from Windows. In Windows, in your My Computer, you have some drives, for example, CD or others. But if you open computer in Ubuntu and go to your file system, you have some folders here. Okay, but most important folder for me at first is home folder. We will work with home folder now, and other folders are important but not now for us. And now we work on home folder, and in your home folder you have some other folders and some subfolders, and these folders that can be exist here are user folders. I have just one user in my Linux and my operating systems, and so I have just one folder here. And when I open that, it's my home folder. It's my home user folder. Okay, so it contains some other subfolders, for example, my document, my downloads, some of my file and movies and musics, and some other folders that I have created to now. Okay, for first practice, I want to create a new folder in my home user folder. Okay, so where is my home user folder? In computer, file system, home, and my user. Okay, you can open that with this icon. If you double click on this icon in your desktop, you go to your home user folder. Okay, now I want to create a new folder in this home user folder. Just right click and first in this menu, create new folder. Okay, you can create new folder. Now I should set a name for that. For example, I named it test. Test is a new folder and it's empty. I can create a new file. For example, as you might want to create a C file for programming C. In that, I can just create a new file in this folder. Okay, right click in the second in menu and the sub menu, click on empty document, and I name it test.c. Okay, now I have a file that is a C file, or I can create another file, for example, test1.cpp. Okay, and I can write my code in files. Okay, it's like Windows. When you work in GUI, it's easy, and it's like Windows or other operating system, and you can create some folders and some files in your folders and subfolders, and you can create some subfolders here. For example, I can create a sub new folder and test. Okay, and you can delete that by right click and press delete, or highlight it and press delete on your keyboard, or shift delete to delete it permanently, and press shift delete. Okay, After this brief introduction about Linux UI, I think you may have seen some command line interface in Linux, and you may have seen that many of Linux users do their work in Linux by typing some command. Okay, we can do all of things, many things in Linux by typing command without the GUI and using mouse. If you open your start menu and type for terminal, there is an application that's name is terminal. If you open that, terminal is here. I like command prompt in Windows. Okay, you can do all of your jobs even better than GUI and better than working on GUI. You have a lot of things in your terminal. For example, you can create a subfolder, installing program, creating file, programming, and many other things. Okay, just by typing some command in terminal. For example, for first command, an easy command, I type pwd. It's the abbreviation of print working directory. Okay, if I press enter, I can see an output, and it's home and solver, my home user in directory or folder in my operating system. So what is working directory? All of things that you do with terminal commands is happened in your working directory. For example, if I created a subfolder or file by command line and by typing some command, it's created, and they are created in working directory. So if I create a file in terminal, it's created in my home solar folder. In Linux, folder is called directory. Also, you can call folder directory. Directory means folder. Okay, so simple command is pwd, and if you press pwd and press enter, you can see your working directory. Okay, you can clear your screen by press Ctrl and L in your keyboard. And if I press Ctrl L, I can clear my screen. Okay, after that, I'm in, as pwd command shows, I'm in working directory, and as I saw in my working directory, I have some subfolders and some files in my in my home user directory. If I said home directory, I mean home user directory. Okay, sometimes I say home directory to home user directory because it's easier. Okay, in my home directory, I have some subfolders and a file. Okay, how can I show those subfolders and file in terminal? By typing ls command, list command. Ls command means list command, and it shows the content of your directory. Okay, press ls and press enter. As you can see, like my home user directory, I have a ARM PDF, and here ARM PDF. I have, for example, a true main, and here is true main and other things. So in terminal, close it, and full screen terminal. In terminal, Control L for clearing a screen. By press ls, you can see your content of your directory. You can add some options to your command. For example, an option is a string that you add to your command. For example, an option for listing command, ls command, is -l. If I type ls-l and press enter, I can see all of my subdirectory and files in a better show. For example, you can have your volume of your files, you can see your access option of your file, for example, user and group of your file, and you can study about that in internet. And yeah, it's a time that this directory is modified, and any other information is shown by this option. So press ls-l. It shows your subdirectory and your files and other information about your subdirectories and your files. Okay, press Ctrl L. Now, for example, for another command I should say about changing directory. For example, when you are in home directory, by double clicking on your, for example, through main, you can go to subdirectory by double click on your folder and directory. Okay, in terminal in Linux, you can use cd change directory command. Change directory command to move to subdirectory or upper directory. For example, I print ls, and I have, for example, desktop. Desktop is a subdirectory in my home folder. If I press cd and desktop, cd and desktop, and press enter, now I'm in desktop directory. If I press pwd print work directory, I'm in home, solar, and desktop. Okay, and if I press ls, I can see the content of my desktop. For example, a table.pdf, that's in desktop. Table is a PDF file. That's a simple table in my desktop. And like option for ls, you have some option for changing directory cd command internal. For example, if you print cd and a dot, a point, and press enter, you go to this directory, and you you don't change your directory. And if I print pwd, I'm in desktop, and cd doesn't change my directory, and point means working directory. But if I type cd and double point, double dot, and press pwd, I go to it's gone me to upper directory by one step. Okay, upper directory of desktop is home, solar. Okay, some command, there is some other commands that is useful. Some option that is useful, for example, cd and tilde. tilde is another option, and if you type cd space and tilde and press enter, you are gone to your home user directory from anywhere of your file system. You are gone to your home user directory, and if I type pwd, I'm in home directory. And if for example I be in desktop and type cd and tilde, now for another time I'm in my home user directory, my home directory. Okay, some options like cd and double point, known as relative options. What means relative options? This means you are moved from your present directory and your working directory, and double point moves me to upper directory from my present directory. For example, now I'm in my home directory, and if I press cd double point, I move to it's known as root directory, and all of your information and your data in your Linux operating system is in your root directory. And then I'm in home directory. If I press cd and double point, I move to root directory, and is a relative option. Now I can have some absolute options. What's absolute options? For example, if I press cd, this means root directory. Okay, and press home and solve, and for example desktop. It's an absolute directory, complete address of my directory. And if I press the complete address of my directory is absolute directory and press enter, now if I type pwd, I'm in this directory, and this type of option and addressing directory is absolute addressing for changing directory. And for another time, if I type cd and slash, I said slash means my root directory. My root directory means my file system. Here is my root directory, all of my subfolders of my operating system, and my files and information, and is my subdirectory. It's equal to my computer in Windows, all of your information and data that you have in your operating system. In Linux is in slash, that means root directory. Root directory. Root directory. Okay. If I type cd and slash, I move to root directory, and if I type pwd, I'm in root directory, and if I press ls and -l, I'm in my root directory. For example, some subfolders like bin, here my file system. Here is bin boot cd-rom, bin boot cd-rom, and here is my root directory, all of my information and data in Linux operating system. Okay, we talked about some simple command and options of those commands in terminal. For example, if I press ls and dash l and another command, for example dash a, you can put your command, all of your comments, all of your option in one command, dash l and dash a. You can see all of your subdirectory and folder that are shown and hidden. For example, change directory to cd tilde to my home directory. Typing clear is clear screen, equal to Control L, and press enter. I'm in pwd. If I type ls-l and -a, I can type two options in one command, and press enter. I have some others. Directory and file that start by dot. A hidden file in Linux operating system is start by a dot. Okay, for these files and subdirectories that start by dot is hidden, and in my home directory in GUI, if I press right click and show hidden file, I can see all of hidden directories, and another time unmarked show hidden file, and it's just my shown file. Okay, so I can type ls-la, in spite of -l-a, I can type all of my options continuously without any distance between them, -l-a. Another time, ls-la. I can see all of my subdirectory and files hidden or shown. Okay, another time Control L for clear screen, and print ls, for example -a. It shows all of my subdirectory and my files that hidden without listing them. Okay, now we talked about some commands and some options. Now I'm in home user, my working directory in home user, and I want to create a subfolder, a new folder, a new directory. New directory means new folder in my home user folder. The command of that is mkdir, making directory. Press space and enter a name for that subdirectory. For example, test1. If I press now, I don't have any test1 folder in my home user, and if I press enter, now I have test1. Okay, creating new folder by typing mkdir and enter the name. Okay, and test1 is empty. If change my working directory to test1 and press enter, now I'm in test1. Okay, and now if I want to create a subfile in my working directory is home solar test1, and if I want to create a file in this working directory, the command is touch. Okay, touching a file. and my file, for example, is main.c. Okay, and if I press enter and press ls, now I have main.c in my working directory. Main.c, I can type ls/l. Main.c, that's empty. That's created now in my user. Okay, and it has some privilege. You can study about privilege in internet by searching, or totally you can search for commands and options in internet and study some books, because there is a lot of options and commands and options in Linux, and I can't teach all of them here. And you can study about those in internet by, for example, searching in Google. So now I'm in test1 subdirectory in my home user folder, and I created a file that's main.c. Now here test1 and main.c in GUI is equal to terminal. Okay, now I want to delete my file main.c. The removing command is rm. Okay, rm, and you can enter the name of file that you want to delete, main.c. And if I press enter and another time ls, I have no file and main.c in my directory. So rm and name of your file, remove your file. Okay, I'm in test1, control for clearing and change to my home user directory. Now I'm in home and server, and I want to, and if I press ls, press enter, I have test1. I want to remove test1. If you want to remove a directory, the command is rm, but you need an option, because if I type rm test1, it returns me an error. We cannot remove test1. Is a directory. Okay, is not a file. Rm and name of your file is a command for removing a file. But if I want to remove a directory or a subdirectory, I should type rm and an option -r recursively. -r recursively remove your subdirectory and all of its contents recursively. And if I type rm-r and test1, now if I press ls, I have no test1 in my subdirectories. Okay, creating a directory by mkdir and removing with rm-r, creating a file by touch and name of your file, and removing a file just with rm command and name of your file. Okay. Sometimes the name of your subdirectory is blank. For example, Wi-Fi -host -driver -release -v1. It's blank. And if I want to change my directory to this subdirectory, I should print its name. For example, Wi-Fi -host, and it's blank. I can press the first part of some first character of my subdirectory file and press tab. It automatically complete the name, and if I press enter, Control L, and type pwd. Now I'm in my home user and the subdirectory. Okay, and press ls, and it has some contents, some subdirectory and contents. Okay, so tab is for changing directory to home user. Tab is for to completing the name of your subdirectory and file. And if I have some subdirectories or files for that start with same characters, for example, desktop, documents, and downloads, all of those start with capital D. Start with capital D. And if I press CD for changing directory and capital D and press tab, it doesn't complete my name because there are more than one subdirectory that's start by capital D. But if I add another character to that, for example E, now just I have desktop that is a start by capital D and E, and press tab, it complete the name of subdirectory. It's a useful option in terminal. Press tab for autocomplete. Okay, it's enough for first part, and we keep on our brief introduction to Linux and terminal in next part. That was part 1, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.